Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the International Paddock podcast. It's a different day, it's a different time, but do you know something? It's still here. I'm your host, Mr. Andrew Gatton, and I'm going to take you through a journey of all the racing this week. Hopefully, my camera actually wants to do something today, 'cause today, of all days, it's decided it's had enough. But once again, I'm joined by two wonderful people. There should be three. There actually should be four, but we've only got two. We actually have Mr. Papa Wallace and Scott here with us as well. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
I need to figure out... Right, so it's kind of working now. Hi. Hello. Hi, chat.
Hello.
I was waving at the screen because my camera's been playing up today. It's been laggy as hell. So if it does randomly decide to kill itself during this stream, don't worry, I have a backup. And
Can't see you for your fringe.
cheers, Mike. Cheers for that insight. In today's podcast, it is pretty much 6 hours of Monza and Silverstone. That's the only two races that went on this weekend, plus whatever Mike has brought in store with us this week.
British
With
Superbikes.
British Superbikes, and also there was the Thruxton weekend as well for the BARC, the British Racing Association. They were with trucks, but I don't know. I didn't really watch any, so I'm not going to tell you about it. I don't know if Mike watched anything from
No,
that on YouTube.
unfortunately, because can I tell you why, Andrew?
Why?
We've had nothing but electric power cuts.
Tell us about it.
Last 3-4 days.
What's been going on?
The electric goes off.
Just the electric goes off.
No, we had a bit. I was with you on Sunday one. No, I wasn't.
We were
was
chilling
away.
we were chilling on Sunday, but we were on phone together while we were watching in the ERC Sunday.
That's it. So did they tell you that the lightning bolted at the substation?
No, I hadn't. You didn't tell me about that. So is that
Or
what
did
it
it?
was?
Or was it
Just
Sam?
telling the breakers. It might have been Sam you were telling on Monday.
Yeah, they fixed it within 5-10 minutes, but just kept going every couple of hours. Been going off for an hour.
It's probably blown a breaker. That's what it is. My dad's old job, he used to be part of the team that helped fix those. So there you go. I'm just trying to fix the scene so that you guys can. This is for later on, but I'm gonna go back to the intermission so you guys can see my beautiful face once again. If you guys chat in the chat, you'll be able to see yourself on screen, and I know how much you guys love that. You love to see yourself chat. You do. You honestly are a bunch of screen time whores, and I love it. But this is where we come in, and we're gonna tell you no, and sit in the corner and think about what you've done. But
So, Andrew, does that mean, like, when you put stuff in the chat, that it'll appear on screen?
do I have to ban you from the chat, Scott?
No.
Do I physically have to remove you from the chat so that you can never speak in it ever again? I know what you're gonna do, all right? And
Yes.
I remember very, very well what you did to me last week, and that was the cringiest shit I have ever seen.
Bear with me a minute.
Music.
Just going off the air.
All right. Mike's been expecting a package all day. He was saying it's an air fryer. He wants to blow himself up, so I'm sure he'll be okay with that. But we're going to just get started with the results of this weekend. We're going to start with the F1 for a change, because holy fuck, was that a good race, Scott? Tell me about it. What was your point of view of that race?
What race?
I don't know. What was on at Silverstone this weekend?
The Formula One race. Ah, yes.
Hmm.
My main takeaway from that is, and I put this on the Twitter, and it's very clear, Pierre Gasly has a receding hairline.
And Lance Stroll is a fucking tool.
Well, no.
He is.
Gasly deserved it.
No, he didn't. Gasly did not deserve to get smacked in the side pod and sent out the side at Brooklands. It wasn't Brooklands. Last corner, anyway. I'm telling you, no. That was Stroll being a cunt. Alright? And you cannot tell me otherwise. He had
How would you
already
say
been
I'm fine?
given a penalty previously for being an idiot, and now he's been given another one. Like, this is stupid. Like, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but Stroll doesn't deserve to be on that grid. Like, after how many years in an F1 car since
But
2017?
Gasly.
But yeah, to be honest, Gasly is like one of those drivers that on his day he's all right, but Stroll isn't. Angelo's in the chat. Look, look, it shows up. Angelo, you can see yourself. See, he loves it. I can tell he's loving it. Welcome to the chat.
Angelo was one sexy boy.
He
But
is.
remember, we have our little private meeting afterwards, Angelo. Make sure you get on the.
I can't.
Nah, just kidding.
I do love it. Good. See, you can see yourself. You're happy now, Angelo. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So there was some right piles of shit going on in that Grand Prix with drivers, you know, playing bumper carts, but in reality, it was such a good race. I think it was the first time that this season I broke my embargo of watching F1 just to watch Silverstone, and I watched a good percentage of it. And I'll tell you now, I actually really enjoyed it. I never thought I would say that about F1 this season, but it was a really good race. You had Hamilton fighting McLarens to try and get up into the positions, and if it wasn't for the safety car, I reckon Piastri would have held on at third. That would have been his maiden podium. But if that's what it's going to look like coming into the summer break, with McLaren being so strong in these sort of high downforce tracks, then Spa and stuff like that, it's going to be awesome.
I
It's going to be good though. I hope McLaren are up there.
I personally think the race was extremely boring, especially for British Grand Prix standards. You know your F1 season's finished when even the Silverstone race is boring. I know that, some people like it and whatnot, but it just was a chore to go through, especially when at Silverstone you're like, we're already halfway through the race. What do you mean? That was how we were looking at it. The race just absolutely flew by.
Yeah, you know it's a good race when you have that sort of mentality. We're not even looking at how many laps has gone by. But personally, right?
Oh no. There's nothing to happen to it. Like,
Like last
did
week,
you?
yeah. But if you look at the whole season as a whole, and the comparative racing when we were fucking, you know, smashing each other at every other track, and just being pathetically bad. We knew Red Bull were going to win every race. There was no challenger to them, and there was no fight in any of the cars that could compete with that. And they were not even. There wasn't even a fight for second or third. Now there is actually a fight for second and third. We're getting to that point now, where teams have started to crack the code almost, and that's the thing. I feel very strongly as though we are pushing towards F1 potentially becoming interesting again. But it could take another 6 months, like towards the end of the season now, where we're actually going to see driving standards and stuff like that being up where we want them to be. Because right now it's pretty fucking dire, if you ask me. But no, considering Silverstone is always a good race, that race there was probably the shittest Silverstone I've had, and of all the seasons I've watched. But in comparison to the rest of the season, it was the best race. So I was happy to watch it because I'm bored of watching F1 now. I'm essentially bored of it. I'm sick, fed up of all the fan base. I'm sick, fed up of all the money that goes into this shit for shit outcomes, really, and I don't really care anymore. I would rather watch a feeder series race than F1, and in that case, I would also rather watch a GT race than the whole of the F1 circus, and that includes feeder series and any open wheel, because there's nothing interesting about it anymore. Fucking British F4 is more interesting. British F4 is more interesting than F1. That shows you the level at which we're playing on right now. But yeah, it's nothing like Daytona and all the 24-hour races where you're on the edge of your seat for fucking 24 hours straight and you're living off of coffee. You're in a pool of your own sweat, tears, and laughter while watching something. This is important shit. But I'm happy as is, and I think we've got a good season ahead of us. What do you think, Scott? What do you think?
I think that the F1, as dire as it is now, it's only going to get better. And people say, "Oh yeah, the cost cap isn't working," but it is.
Teams are
We're
not
getting
spending as
closer.
much, and I think that means there's more money for other areas to be not so much exploited, but like other areas to be looked at with all the excess money and stuff like that for teams. So they're actually doing a lot more philanthropy and giving back with the extra money because they can, rather than using it for their own greed and want and need and stuff like that. So no, I'm quite happy
Well,
that
no, here's what
things
they're
are
doing
happening.
with the extra money. I'll tell you what's happening with the extra money is that they're getting this money, their extra money, and they're investing them into the outside sources, which aren't um, accounted to by the FIA for like parts. Pardon me,
There's certain
for
things that
parts
they
of
can
cars.
spend a lot of money on, but I don't think there's a lot of things that are being a lot more regulated than you think, Scott. The outside sources are not necessarily as big as you think. They can't invest a lot of money in these things because they do get tracked. The the rest of the money that you're seeing that teams are having right now is going into one side of things, content creation, and the other side of things being the other aspects of the business. They're giving back a lot more money, putting it back into the team rather than in the right way by creating philanthropy initiatives, by doing stuff for communities around them, and teams have always been doing that, but I think there's been a lot more of that over the past few years, um, and I think this year's been very good because they've been giving a lot back. There's a lot more, situations where teams are putting money back into the community around them, and that's the important thing because there's a lot of money in that. And any extra money, yes, they don't need as much for a season, but they'll still get a bit extra, and they'll put that away somewhere else. They won't save it. They'll put it towards other things, which is the important thing. But yeah, moving away a little bit from Formula One, we had Monza. The 6 hours of Monza. It was the last WEC race for the next 2 months, which is kind of depressing, really. But I'm going to get the results up for you now, and I'll tell you the exact results from each race. If it's going to let me open up the WEC app, please. Stop telling me there's an error occurred. Oh, he's... Ah. Mike's just got his air fryer, I believe. So he's quite happy. I going to find the
Look at the
rules.
picture.
I tried to be nice about that, okay? I'm telling you, that's an air fryer, if I've ever seen one. Alright.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Um, I'm trying to get the results up for 6 hours of Monza, which was on this weekend. Because Monza's not going to be on the calendar next year because of repairs to the track, which is kind of depressing, really, but it is how it is. Can I get the where is it? Where is it? Please tell me. Just give me the fucking Monza 4 hours. It wasn't 4 hours. Fucking hell, man. Why does the site why is it so French? Why does the site have to be so French? Give me my results. Right, there we go. The results are as follows. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner was the number 7 Toyota Gazoo Racing of Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Juan Maria Lopez. Which, by the way, if you remember back to Le Mans, got its ass raped by a GT and an LMP2 at the same time. They had the full package that day. And in second, at their home circuit, was Ferrari AF Corsa with the number 50 car with Antonio Fuoco, Marco Molina, and Nicholas Nielsen. And in P3, oh my god, I remember watching this and it happened right in front of my eyes, and I was I was astounded. Peugeot Total Energies team came third for the first time in their fucking Peugeot with no rear wing, with Paul di Resta, Mikael Jensen, and John Verick Verne. If
We
anybody
call them
knows.
Peugeots around our way.
Peugeot, yeah, I know, but there's no R. It's Peugeot. Pew. As in, like,
Peugeot.
you sit on a pew
It's
at the
pronounced.
church.
It's pronounced Peugeot. There's no R.
But, yeah, that's where it is. The Porsche finished in 4th, and the number 51 Ferrari finished in 5th. That was the number 5 actually finished in 4th, and that was the one with Dane Cameron, Mikael Christensen, and Fred Makovici. And obviously P5 was Antonio Pierguidi, James Collado, the Brit, and Antonio Giovinazzi in the number 51. 6th was the Toyota Gazoo Racing of number 8 with Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa. 7th was Porsche Penske Motorsport with number 6 with Kevin Estra, Andrea Lottier, and Lawrence Vantor. Glickenhaus in 8th, I don't care. Hertz Jota team finished in 9th with Antonio Felix da Costa, Will Stevens, and Yiffy Ye. And Cadillac had a bit of a fucking shitter. And yeah, finished P10. And that was Earl Bamber, Alex Lynn, and Richard Westbrook that finished in that one. In LMP2 was Jota, the LMP2 team of Jota, in the number 28. That was the one that's got Pietro Fittipaldi, hopeful F1 driver one day, he says to himself. P2 was the Alpine Elf team with Matteo Vaxivier, Jon Canal, and Charles Malaysi. And in P3 was the Team WRT with Rui Andrade, Robert Kubica, and Louis Delatraz. P4 in LMP2 was the United Autosports of number 23, which had Jordan Pearson, Guido van der Garde, and Ollie Jarvis. And P5 was Inter Europol with some Polish guy, another weird name, and well, his name is Albert Costa. We love him.
Sam's in the chat, Andrew.
Sam, I sent you an invite. If you haven't got it, you need to join somehow. If somebody else wants to send me an invite while I'm reading the results, that would be great.
I'll do it.
I'll go. And just to finish off all of the results for this, we're going to just go down the order. Corvette didn't end up on the podium this weekend, which is sad, but they've already won the championship, so what's the fucking point? Because they won pretty much every other race. Cal's in the chat, Sambo's in the chat. How are we doing, boys? Welcome in. The LMGTE cars, or just LMGTE class, went to the Dempsey Proton Racing, who had a magnificent crash at Le Mans in the number 77 car. Then it was Iron Lynx in P2, which is their home circuit. And Sam's here. And in 24th was GR Racing. This was one of their first podiums in the sport as well, so they managed to put that ahead of Corvette Racing, who I believe had some trouble early on in the race. And yeah, Ferrari didn't really do very well in the GTE class. Their nearest was in P6 actually, and that was the one that did quite well previously in these smaller tracks, and that was number 83 with the only female to win, or to get a class win, and that was at Spa, and that's Lilu Wadu, and that's in the Richard Mill AF Corsa car. So that is everything for the racing this week from me. Then we move on to Mike to talk about British Superbikes.
British Superbikes, yeah. We were at Snetterton. Just let me get my results, mucker.
Snetterton's
What
quite
have you
an
done?
interesting track, isn't it? Because it's quite flat. There's a little bit.
It's quick.
There's quite a nice undulating area, then obviously the aforementioned bomb hole.
Bommel, yeah.
And that is honestly horrible in a GT car, so I can't imagine how good it will be in any other car. Or bike for that matter. So we'll see how that works out. So let's have a wee chat about it, Mike. Have you got your results
Yeah.
up yet?
I've got my results. It's a meeting that was dominated by Ducati rider Tommy Bridewell, who won the sprint race 1 and race 2. And he's got a quite commanding lead in the championships now. But there's some good racing.
Can imagine.
Some high-speed crashes. What else can I... Oh, we had a bit of a steward's inquiry as well that mucked up some of the results later, further down the field. But everything's been resumed now. But a lot of complaints were made, and I believe there was fisticuffs.
Oh, that seems interesting.
Anyway, the sprint race, as I just said before, Tommy Bridewell on the Ducati took the win with Josh Brooks on the BMW in P2 with Jamie O'Halloran on a Yamaha in P3. Race 1 or race 2, if you count the sprint as a race, it was won by Tommy Bridewell. Josh Brooks again was second, and then Leon Haslam, son of the legend Ron Haslam, on the BMW was third. And then race 3, again, Bridewell took the win. Fellow Ducati rider Glenn Irwin was second, and Haslam again was third. Now, the standings, Bridewell has got 277 points. Irvine is second on 192, and Kyle Ride is third on 171.
It's not bad.
That's it.
Well, that was British Superbikes, ladies and gentlemen, with Mike. We're coming towards a little bit of a segment that we're going to be changing, but before this happens, I want to sit down and speak to you guys in just full confidence of what's going to be going on over the next season. Right now, throughout the summer, we're going to have quite a lot of changes with potential schedules clashing and stuff like that. So we would just want to let everybody know that we'll do our best to keep you guys informed of any changes to when International Paddock may be. We try to keep you informed using the Discord. We're going to be setting up a Stream Elements bot or a Streamlabs bot in here where you can type in the exclamation mark Discord. It's not working at the moment, but it will work this week, hopefully. Having some issues with that. Once that works, you'll be able to access our Discord from the stream chat. You can also access the Discord from the International Paddock page on Twitch. If you're already a member of the Discord, keep an eye out and keep your notifications on the announcements tab. You don't need the notifications on everywhere else unless you're a driver of Team Alba 43, and we'll keep you updated in there as to what's going on for this week and next week and any other week that we are coming live with International Paddock. So obviously I was working this week, so there were some changes to the schedule. It had to be done because Jamie wasn't home, so he couldn't run the International Paddock stream. But in future, what will be happening is, since Jamie will be able to access the Streamlabs and everything from here, he will be running the stream if I am not available to be here. So he will be your sort of lead host and everything.
I find that a little bit unfair, you know.
Why?
Because when I'm away, you carry on.
Yeah, but you'll carry on still with me being away. Here, look. You took the piss out of me on Monday night, I heard. So
who did?
You did.
We had better things to talk about, didn't we, Sam?
Did you?
Yes. You only mentioned fringes twice. Only twice.
Only twice. Look, unfortunately,
once at the beginning, once at the end.
I was making a decent bit of cash on Monday and Tuesday, so I wasn't here really. But I should be back for the next week, and there's going to be one date in August when it will be the Scottish Bank holiday. I'm working, so it will be probably run by Jamie. We're going to look at
Scotland's always on a bank holiday.
says you, considering your banks have decided to raise the prices and everything. Not my problem.
The bank holiday today in Northern.
Yeah, who cares about Ireland? I'm only joking. We love
Tell
Ireland.
him, Andrew. Tell him.
Look, we tried to stop your wars, okay, and it didn't work. Nah, we didn't. We didn't try to stop it. We were just there to make it worse. But before we get cancelled off of every platform alive, here
Sorry,
is.
that's tickled me. That's tickled me.
Yeah, notice how Scott's went silent. He's not very happy with me now after making that comment. But
Yeah.
sad,
Sorry.
sad Scott noises. I'm gonna say we're gonna keep the streams running for you guys as much as we possibly can. But in light of bad news and good news at the same time, I have even better news, ladies and gentlemen. As of the new season of VRC, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, we will be hosting all of ERC's races live on International Paddocks. Can I just get a round of applause for that? We're just going to pull this up on screen for everybody to see if it will work. It's not working. Oh god.
Now, Mike actually knows the complicated system for how you actually get onto Twitch. The
Yes,
Xbox.
we've sorted it, mate. Thank you very much, Sam.
Managed to
I owe you.
How complicated was that? Because I was trying to
Sam?
think about it.
So, there is a very simple way of solving this problem. So, obviously they changed the way Twitch works.
Yeah.
And you have to go into linked accounts now in your Xbox, unlink your own account, because even though you sign into a different account on the X, and then try and link the accounts together, it'll still come up as your own. You've got to unlink your own, link the International Paddock one, and then go in and log into the Twitch on the Xbox, and then it allows you to do it. You just have to remember unlink it afterwards.
Now,
yeah.
just imagine, right? Sam has got a very technical brain, hasn't he? Imagine me trying to suss that out.
Yeah, I think you would have, the comment that you made of getting ready to throw your Xbox out the window and lobbing your controller halfway down your street, that was the thing that made me laugh the most.
I don't know what made me stop.
I don't know. It might have been just the
Let's
thought
be
of me
honest, it
telling
does
you
remind me
were
a
an
little
idiot.
bit of a particular scene where what is it? The guy throws the computer into the garbage.
Yeah, literally. Just
it was going. It was going. I tell you.
I would, to be honest, if I was in your situation, Mike, I would have pulled out the hammer and been ready to fix the situation, if you know what I mean.
If somebody
hammer
hadn't
fixes everything
locked the
anyway.
window,
exactly.
If somebody hadn't locked the window and misplaced the key, it'd have gone through it. I tell you.
Let me guess, Julie did that on purpose so that you don't smash shit.
Yeah, because I sometimes I sleepwalk and pretend I'm flying.
Oh. That's
so she has to lock the window.
What, so you don't try and fly out the window? Sorry, Mike. Sorry. It's quite serious that, and I just laughed. But I'm
either going to try and get through the window and flying, or pissing in my sock drawer.
Oh God. I don't like that image. Anyway, moving on swiftly. So from next season.
And now for something completely different.
We're going on.
If you get that reference, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're moving on swiftly from that disgusting scene in everybody's brain, and
it might be disgusting for you.
Do I have to actually?
Anyway.
I have to boot Scott out of everything. Scott, I'm being serious, brother. What the hell?
Fuck.
Yeah, he just randomly spells stuff out, and I don't understand.
Is he referring to me?
I'm gonna pin that message. I'm only joking. What? So, listen in, guys. So from the new season and onwards, we will be hosting every single race from ERC on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which will include the managers, the 100% racing, and the ERC Sunday, which is the 50% league. So you'll be able to catch all the action live with us on the International Paddock Twitch channel, and it'll all be uploaded onto YouTube, ready for everything to go. So, listen in.
I'll stop now.
We're gonna be doing everything. Yeah, but I don't understand you.
It shows he's not listening, doesn't it? If he's
He
doing
never
that,
listens. He is honestly a child.
he needs detention.
Do you know what you need, right? Take your fucking sippy cup and go and sit in the corner and think about what you've done. Honestly, yeah, this guy is scaring me. He is. Honestly, I reckon it's because he's Irish.
That
I
was a
reckon-
bank holiday. He's had nothing to do all day, has he?
Ah, that's true. But just to move on from all of that, ERC will be on this channel from next season, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to keep the streams
Yes.
going and rolling for you
More
guys
content
to enjoy.
added to the channel alongside Papa Champs.
Yeah, so we will have
Papa
this-
Champs.
we will have the schedule updated for you guys, but as of right now, it will be Mondays for International Paddock at 5 p.m, and straight after that at 8:30 we've got Papa Champs, and then
Wait.
Tuesdays is a free day. Wednesday at 8 p.m. we'll have managers for the ERC managers, and that's a 50% league with a twist, so you guys will learn more about that when it comes down to it. I hope you guys want to watch that. It looks like it's going to be a good season, actually, with the amount of drivers that are signing up. And you never know, you might see me racing in it, because I may have signed up as a reserve, but I don't know.
You'll never race, probably.
And, well, no, the only reason I didn't race in RFL was because the one person I wanted to race against decided he was not racing at all, after signing up as a reserve.
I mean, that's if he doesn't get called into work every single time he needs to race.
But I told him, I told you guys, if he wanted to race, and he was racing, I would have raced as well to fill the grid. But he wouldn't have made it past turn 1. So, it's up to him.
Anyway, no one else will really know the rest of that story because we're just going to leave it there.
Yeah, we're going to leave it there. Cal knows who we're talking about. Cal sent me a nice message the other day about that specific person, and I said he needs to pipe down. But, we're going to move on before we get cancelled off of every platform alive, and we'll move on.
Haven't you already been cancelled?
Yeah, but not as cancelled as Scott nearly was the other day, but we won't talk about that either.
What's I do the other day? I'm just serious. What did I actually do the other day? What?
It's more about what you were thinking of doing.
We're not going to go into that either.
We're not going into it. We're not going into it.
Let me know off.
Why tell
we
half
are,
a story?
Yeah, we are implying.
Why tell half a story?
Because the other half of the story is not very nice. Because
The other half of the story we can't
it
include.
involves team politics when it comes to RFL, and we don't like that.
No.
Yay!
Team politics, yeah. And we're not here to talk about
I
team
love-
politics.
I love causing a controversy in leagues. I just love it. RFL, I basically own that league
No,
at this stage.
No, you don't. You pretend to bitch and moan so that they listen to you, and that's exactly what happens. They end up listening to you. And
I
they
force
bitch
them
and
into
moan.
making all their decisions.
You know that they watch this, right?
He sounds like
Hi
a bully.
guys.
Well, only certain people do.
Cal and fucking Angelo are in the chat right now.
I know, Andrew and
Yes,
Carl,
but those
they
two
know
are
I run
cool
it.
though.
And Kirby watches
Yeah,
this
they're
back.
cool. Hi,
Yes,
Kirby.
Kirby's also cool though. He's a resident American.
Yeah, he's the
I
American.
was sat
who's
here
very-
today in the general chat. I got timed out because I was busy beefing with the tier 2 drivers,
Yeah,
making fun of them for being in tier 2.
that's
You were
They
there
were
once.
having an argument between themselves, to which I then piped in and said, guys, he's in tier 2. Of RFL of all places.
Hmm. Well, I mean,
I got removed.
considering
I got removed from that Discord because I was supposedly inactive, but no, I wasn't inactive. I just called everybody out on their bullshit because it was funny. But yeah, we're gonna continue chatting on, and we're gonna go on to some Twitter stuff that's been going on this week as well. So
Twitter
Have
is
we talked
supposedly
about
dying.
ERC? Have we talked about ERC results and that?
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about that. We got sidetracked because we were talking about Scott. ERC results from this week. You were watching Wednesday and Thursday, and I was there for Sunday. So tell us what was going on, Mike.
Well, this might be a little bit controversial, being as I'm a staff member of ERC.
Mm-hmm.
Like how he said that with some gusto.
I
Puffed his chest there, didn't he?
didn't puff my chest,
He
and
became 2 inches
I
taller.
showed you, and I
Ladies, I'll
showed
be
you my
back in a
bicep.
minute if I'm unresponsive.
Right, the managers last Wednesday. Hang on, let me get my little results out here. Unfortunately, due to an incident, the managers' championship is all over.
Oh.
It'll take a bit of a miracle. He can still mathematically be caught, but it'll take some miracle for Scar to be caught now.
Yeah, he's quite quick.
His nearest rival was disqualified
Oh.
and didn't go down too well with me personally. Made my comments known, but obviously rules are rules.
I've read that
And
back, by the way. I watched
I'll
all of
take that
the.
on board.
I watched the whole entire Discord feed from that, and I was just like, this is just. I think, do you know something, right? The driver made very good points against it, but, you know, we're not here to judge. But at the same time, you know, if rules are rules, then, you know, they're rules. There's nothing you can really do.
No, I've took that on board. I realised that, but I had to.
Yeah,
I
everyone
mean,
has their opinion, I
it's
guess.
not just because it was me, lad. I'd have said it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's the same. If it happened to Panda, or if it happened to like
I'd have said
Jamie
the
or
same.
something, it would have been the same situation. It's just a case of like, you know, sometimes rules maybe don't get enforced as much as they should do, and it's such a bullshit one, really, in some ways. But there's nothing you can really do about it.
Anyway, like I say, respect the rules, and that's it. But the championship is nearly over now, and the constructors' championship now, I would say, is between two teams instead of three. But anyway, the race was won by Panda.
Hey, big ups
No, he
to
wasn't.
Panda.
No, he wasn't.
No,
No, it
that's
wasn't.
Sundays.
Sorry. No, that's Sunday. It
What
was
list are you
won
looking at?
the other page to what I'm supposed to be looking at.
The Bible has been opened at the wrong
Professionalism.
page. Now that's a sin, my friend. That's a sin.
Anyway, the race was won by reserve driver for the Red Bull, PWXDX Ryan.
Yep.
Scar, your championship leader, like I say, near enough championship winner for the season. We were second. MCL was third. Mike Steele was fourth, and Wallace Jr. was, well, he crossed the line fifth, but unfortunately got disqualified. So Ferrari second behind Red Bull now in the no, they aren't.
He's looking at the wrong page again.
I'm looking at the wrong page again. You
Mike.
dickhead, Mike.
Professionalism.
Be more
Red Bull.
organised, he says.
Red Bull are now 8 points clear of Alpine, with Ferrari in third with 463. I know mathematically Ferrari still have a chance of winning it, but it looks like it's between Red Bull and Alpine now, with just 8 points separate them.
Interesting.
Yeah, Alpine tonight, I've got two drivers, whereas Red Bull have only got the one. So Alpine could take the lead tonight.
They need a good finish, though. They need a good finish. And yeah, after looking at the results from Zandvoort's round, they need a good finish tonight to even think about pushing. And that's kind of what's going to be moving forward from there. What about Thursday? The 100%. There was
Thursday,
quite
cracking
an
race.
interesting race there, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's great. Minden took the win with Wallace second. Shaggy was third. Steele was fourth, and Exo was fifth. Exo is now just 2 points adrift of Rookie for the championships. As the main other antagonist that was up there, Bird, is away on holiday.
Hey.
So that it leaves it now between Rookie and Exo for the championship with just 2 rounds remaining.
So we're getting close.
And then, we went on to Sunday. We had full comms on that race on Sunday, but I don't think we did mention any of the drivers.
To be honest, it was just we already mentioned this. It's like what's the point in us streaming 6 drivers for a race? We said this already to the drivers. Like, we want to provide the best comms possible. We can't provide that if there's only 6 drivers, and then half the race is a battle, then the rest of the race is a finish. Like, it's a finishing order. You know.
Anyway,
It's like watching a race at Monaco, basically.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Race was won by Panda. Minden was second, Exo third, Shaggy fourth, and Wallace was fifth and took the final lap on the last lap. Anyway, Minden now is 50 points clear from Bird, who I said is away on holiday, so Minden can only extend his lead. And then Shaggy is making an appearance in P3. I know he's 70 points behind Minden, but he has got a chance of taking P2 in the championships.
yeah, he needs a good finish. I
Yeah,
think
and Williams.
Ideally, he needs a win this weekend to really sort
Yes.
of push that
Yeah,
securing
he
it.
does. Williams, 150 points clear in the constructors, so they can't be caught. Can't be caught.
Yeah, I mean they've been instrumental this whole entire season. There's been no question that.
Yeah. And the two drivers are Minden Bean and Wallace Jr.
Yeah, both those guys have been top notch. I mean, I looked at the results actually, and Wallace hasn't had the best results. He's only had 2 podiums in ERC Sundays this season, but his consistency in getting points every race has been good for the team, and obviously Minden as well, in such a dramatic fashion, has actually had such good results that it's basically helped carry the team to its position where it needs to be. Minden again he didn't really need to win any races. He just needed to be consistent because he knew that drivers were gonna maybe be inconsistent on certain tracks. You'll find that like a lot of drivers in ERC Sundays, they'll maybe have really good tracks, some tracks they're really good at, and then out of nowhere they'll have 2 bad ones in a row where they've crashed out of one race, and then maybe the second one they've not even finished high up in points, maybe they finish P8. And that's enough for other drivers who have been consistently maybe second, third and fourth to actually start pushing and catching up with them because they've had those 2 bad results. So the thing is about you've got to think about the long game, and if you have one bad race, it affects every bit of results you're going to have for the season. You actually have to push more and more. So it puts the pressure on. Like the start of the season, if you have a bad race, it doesn't seem like a lot, but really at the end of the day, that could be the deciding factor in you even having P2 or P3 in the championship, not let alone first. So you really have to think about the long game, and I think that's why it's quite interesting to look at all the positions as things are happening. And
I mean, he's always been a good driver, Minden. Don't get me wrong, but if I had the ability to provide a trophy for the most improved driver in the RC this year, it would be him, hands down.
Exactly. I think he's been something else this season when it comes to ERC. That it was like the rise of Wolf 2 seasons back.
Yeah, yeah. Very reminiscent.
I don't even understand how, he came from being in the lowest tier, the emerging league, to doing well in that. I think he won that one, went up to the championship, and won that hands down. And then obviously the next season we were all together because we didn't have enough drivers, and he actually was challenging again. And I think even this season, even though this has not really been his game as such, he's still been sort of on top of the driving standards, and he's been really trying his best when he's been able to come in with his school schedule and his work schedule. So, Wolf again has always been a standout driver. There was a few incidents he had this year, maybe where he was pushing a little bit too hard to be where he needed to be. But he's definitely deserving of something when he does race, and it's just a shame there's certain races he's not been able to race that he was looking forward to. So hopefully we see him return back in F1 23 on the next season, on season 11 of ERC Sundays, and give us something to watch, because I think everybody seems to be enjoying this game a lot better than the last one. So
yes, We do.
Like
Absolutely.
moving on to the next season now, we're covering 4 races on that game, and there's only more to come. We're trying to fill our schedule as much as possible, guys, with content for
Are
you
we
guys to
are we
watch.
doing
So,
the Smithy challenges as well, Andrew?
well, I haven't been contacted about that yet, but we will hopefully be contacted. We could potentially be the lead provider on broadcast on that one. We'll probably be using it as a specific test for how we're going to run
Yeah,
the streams onto the next
that's what I was
season.
going to suggest.
But yeah, if it does come up, guys, just jump into the chat, have a look, and see how good some of these drivers are. It's going to be a head-to-head championship, 1v1. Quite interesting, and it's a memorial event, and it's something that we all feel strongly about because of the driver that
Yeah,
it's named after. So
I'm not taking a mick or anything like this here with this statement I'm going to come out with, but I think Scott will agree with me. But the drivers in Papa Champs need to watch how his RC race.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
There was some questionable things that happened. We'll
we're going
leave
to
it at
move
that.
on to that. We're going to talk about that in a minute about Papa Champs, because I think we looked through the incidents, and it was the same. It was the same sort of stuff that happened in Australia with driving standards. People trying to outbrake themselves and send it down the inside of people.
Well, I mean, someone really outbreak themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, we'll get on to that one.
we'll move on to this
Oh
soon.
dear.
Because I disagreed with a lot of the incidents, and it was written in my report that I didn't actually want to penalise anybody personally, and I'll openly say this to anybody from the Papa Champs group that were watching this now. I didn't want to penalise anyone. When I looked at the result, like when I looked at all the incidents, there was a couple of them that I even just said, well, you know, personally, if you're going to leave the door open, so a driver is going to go for the gap or whatever, but, you know, and if you close it last minute, even when the driver is on the inside, expect contact. It's just, and if you spin because of it, then, you know, partial blame has to go on you because you didn't look in your mirrors. But, you know, we'll get on to that. We're going to just finish tidying up the ERC stuff here.
You quote Rich Hammond, you could park a bus in that gap, Hammond.
The Papa Champs stuff is gonna come just in a couple of minutes' time. We're gonna take a sort of quick a quick minute break to take a breather, and then we'll come back with the Papa Champs in approximately 2 minutes. So bear with us, guys. Enjoy the ad that we'll be playing. It's the same ad we used last week, but you know, enjoy it either way.
It's just
Wondered what life would be like without motorsports. Have you thought about your life? What would it be like without games? Maybe you have thought about going fishing with your non-existent friends. Or maybe dabbled in the art of downloading Tinder just because you're desperate for someone to give a shit about you. If you answered yes to any of these questions, you have raced in Formula 1. But no, not just career mode. You've raced in a league. It's time to change that narrative. Welcome to Papa Champs. This is not just a racing league, it's a way of life. The only place you can race and still actually have a social life. Do you want to race competitively in F1 23? Papa Champs. Do you want to be a part of a community that has a no moaning policy? Papa Champs. Do you want to pretend you're not a virgin like Papa Goose? Right, stop the music! What the hell, Mike? What is this script? I'm gonna call him now. Papa Champs, Mondays 8:30 PM live on the International Paddock Twitch channel. Be there or be the square. Hope you guys enjoyed that ad. We are back, and we're here to talk a little bit about Papa Champs. So, if you did tune in on Monday night with Mike and Sam on comms, we went to Bahrain for round 2 of the inaugural
Bahrain.
Papa Champs season.
Right.
Let's talk about the race. So, Scott, from your point of view, as the prime objective owner of Papa Champs, how'd it go from your point of view, mate?
Well, we had 13 drivers, which is more than
It's double.
last week.
It's double, pretty much, nearly double.
Well, no, we had 11 drivers show up on the Australian Grand Prix. It's just that a lot of them got wiped out in the first lap. I was very vocal to everyone at the beginning of the event, talking about driving standards to ensure that everyone knew we were not going to tolerate any stupid driving. But unfortunately, a few of them who went against that sort of put the event in a difficult position,
Yeah,
which is a shame.
it's difficult. I mean, there's still some teething problems, but I think necessarily it's gonna change. The stewarding side of things is still relatively new, in some instances, and
Of course.
we need to look at how we review incidents personally. But one thing I will say is that we are in a position right now where drivers were maybe not so much listening to what was going on and not paying enough, like no spatial awareness, which was kind of irritating for me, sitting there looking at the clips that people were sending in and then trying to defend themselves almost from something that was so silly and it could have been avoided. There was 2 incidents, and I'm gonna openly name names just because it's how I know the incidents. Panda Pat put in 2 incidents from the same corner, but on just different laps, where actually both times in reality he closed the door too late and got hit, and yet it was deemed to be the car behind's fault. But in many ways he left the door open, and that my view was right, especially on was the lap 21 incident with Panda, Winai and Vapid. We penalised Winai, but we didn't actually penalise Vapid. I think both drivers, if we wanted to use the rhetoric of moving under braking, both drivers actually moved under braking.
Well,
make
when
a
I say
mistake.
moving under braking, the reason why I penalised when I knocked the car behind when I is because when I moved under braking with a car behind him, there wasn't a car behind Vapid in
But
that incident.
there was still visible contact made with Winai's car from Vapid, and subsequently there was contact with Winai onto Panda, which was made worse when they tried to go essentially 3 wide into a corner that doesn't even fit 2 cars mostly. So
An issue that spawned from those types of instances that Patrick had 2 separate incidents at that same corner. But what Patrick fails to do is
look in his mirrors and understand there's cars behind him.
acknowledge that if he brakes as early as he does for that corner, people will dive up his inside.
And the thing is, it's such an open corner as well, because you have to come from the outside to the inside, and drivers are going to send it down, essentially leaving that door open. But the easy thing that he needs to do is move his car to the middle of the track when he's braking. Yes, he'll have a slower entry speed, but he will essentially stop any incident, and he'll actually push Winai to the outside and have a better run at the next corner. He didn't
Be a
do
safer
that.
move.
Yeah, and it would have been a defensive play, but really he actually left the door open for him to get hit in the ass essentially by Winai, and for Vapid to then try and send up the inside because of the train, the effect that happened. So lap 21 was quite an interesting one, really.
What I think was happening was that Vapid was going for a move on Winai, but just right as he was doing it, when I went for the move on Patrick.
and I
Hence why I
understand
say
that.
it's a late move.
But
Because there's the car behind going for the move, and you move
really,
in.
should drivers be making a move like that in a
I
corner
think
in that
we
aspect?
do need
Because
to.
when I was already like looking at where Winai's car was with the arrows and where Vapid's car was with the arrows as well, but by looking at both points of views that was shown to us, which was Panda's and Winai's, we were in a position where we were viewing from a point of view where we couldn't see the car behind, but we could actually tell what was happening from the arrows, and that was that Vapid actually didn't go for the move initially until Winai had actually moved. So the safest thing that Vapid could have done was go the outside. Yes, he wouldn't have got the move done, but he went to the inside, essentially trying to make that free wide, and that's what made it worse. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because the level of driving standards, it comes down to the simplest of decisions in your head. Yes, we saw an incident of this in PSGL, very similar with Thomas Ronhart and Mr. Jarno Pogmere, and the problem
There are
was that
esports guys, they don't know
yeah,
how to drive.
but Opmere blamed Ronhar for going on the inside, right? But essentially Opmere actually left the door open for Ronhar to send it down the inside and put a wheel in. And yes, it resulted in a little bit of wheel bumping, and that's how it goes. And yes, it did result in a little bit more contact on the the next corner afterwards, which is a corner that you can make moves on because it's a little bit more slow speed. But that is all because Opmere was being very aggressive on his defence, and that's unfortunately what happens. It's the same in GT racing. You would have seen it actually at the weekend there with Team Alba 43 when we were at Silverstone, when we were fighting for a position with another Ferrari who were a lot quicker. But going into Brooklands, what I did was I went to the inside and pushed him out wide. And by doing that, same situation, yes, I put the elbows out, but I forced an error by doing that, not causing physical contact to the car, but by intimidating him enough to make him go out wide. I made my initial move to the left, and he wasn't alongside me by that point, so I can move back to the racing line, and that's when he tried to go around the outside. I went into the corner and still had positioning on him because he was not there. But because I intimidated him enough by going to the inside and making him go out wide, he couldn't make the move and actually made an error. I held him back another lap, because of that. But that's all because of I was thinking. That's because I was thinking ahead. Yes, GT cars are a lot slower. They're a lot heavier. They're a lot clunkier in many ways. There's less downforce. But the same racing propositions apply in many ways. That you have to think about your move 10 corners before you even think about doing it, because everything changes. You have to calculate it. Everything's a calculated risk, and you went from one car being in an incident with another to two cars being in an incident with one car, because two drivers weren't necessarily thinking straight. They just wanted to get past Panda, because Panda was essentially braking quite early for two or three of the corners, so he could get a better run out of the corners.
Yeah,
But
I just think that as a whole, most of the drivers there do need to sort of fix their awareness, because it's only going to discourage drivers from participating in the races when you have people driving like complete fucking morons every week.
and I'm not.
To be frank,
I want to defend my argument here, not because I know that me and Vapid, we don't see eye to eye, right? Personally, we don't, and that's okay. I understand why in some ways. I also don't, but that's just maybe he just doesn't like me. But I also want to make a clear point, is that I'm not necessarily attacking any driver by saying this. This is just by watching stuff. I don't care about what driver you are, who you are. If I'm watching that incident, I am going to make a very bold call, and it is just going to be the fact that drivers need to be looking in their mirrors. They need to be watching. They need to be making sure that they're seeing what's going on behind them, because in many ways drivers weren't paying attention, let alone to what's in front of them and not even behind them sometimes. So it takes 2 seconds. It doesn't even take it's half a second to check your mirrors every now and again. Just a quick look on the left and right. That's it. Nothing else. but drivers were not doing that, and that's the thing that annoyed me, especially in a sort of a track like Bahrain, where the simplest move offline can send you into a barrier and spin you. You know, especially in that sector. Sector 1 and Sector 2 is a ball ache if you're trying to go side by side. So, we've seen it happen at
Honestly.
ART.
So next week, and do I have time to explain this? What's going on next week?
Go for it, mate.
So next week is the first gimmick race. So the rules are simple. You can pit on lap 1. You're not allowed to pit on any other lap. So that sort of requires drivers to take more care of their car. And we will see a race of attrition, and it's going to be something very different. I think it's going to be very entertaining.
If you have
But
to
it
pit,
only
let's say
works.
if you pit after the fact, is there going to be penalties imposed on drivers who have to pit after the fact?
If you pit after lap 1, you're disqualified.
So if you have damage.
Yeah,
So
you
basically
just
it
have to drive with it.
forces drivers' hands to basically take care of their car. So they actually have to watch what they're doing.
So they have to manage their tires and stuff like that as well.
Where are we
And
at for
plus,
this week?
Baku. I purposely chose Baku
That's a good one.
based off of the fact that the tire wear around that track is significantly better than it is at most tracks because
But
it's
big
nice and
wall.
flat.
You meet Barriar and
And
that's it. It's over. Because
Barriar's on every corner, isn't he?
yeah, he's there. He's meeting
And a
everybody.
lot
on
of
every street.
Meeting and greeting.
long straights, low speed corners, which is taking a bit less load on the tires, hence why it's less. But it's also going to be interesting if there's wet weather involved. If there is a rain shower at some point during the race, when you make your pit stop on lap 1, do you pit for a set of wet tires? Do you take a set of hards?
It's quite
Because if
interesting. Because everyone's gonna try and take hards. Someone
Everyone's
might
gonna try
be
and take
smart
hards.
enough and take mediums to the end. But
If I think everyone's going to take hard tires when they pit in, even if there is rain forecast further down the line, because you do not want to be putting yourself on intermediates or wet tires in dry conditions. Your tires will kill themselves
they'll burn
so
themselves
quickly.
out, yeah, because they're not designed to grip onto the road. They're designed to push water behind them like paddle steamers. You know.
Little question, Scott.
Yeah.
I've not acclimatized myself to the Copper Champs rules, but do you allow people to retire on track, or do they have to go in the pits to retire?
I will need to double check that in the rules, but I'd imagine that if any driver needs to retire, then they should be doing it in the pits. I do know that Cynical Games retired on track.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this now. If I don't know if it's in the rules, I can't exactly penalise him.
Yeah, because what I'm getting
can
at
let
is
him off this
anybody.
time.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is the pit lane's obviously closed at Baku.
I mean, you can
But
go into
it will be
retire, but you're not allowed to
yeah.
pit. So
Got you. Yeah, all right. No worries then. That's sorted for me. Thank
yeah,
you.
because if you're retiring anyway, I don't see there's no penalty for retiring. You're not going to get any points. But you also need to be aware of the fact that if you do come out of the pits with a fresh set of tires on and you do the rest of the race after lap 1, if you pit on lap 2 for example, and you put on a set of wet tires and you haven't pitted on lap 1, you are disqualified because you didn't pit on lap 1 when everybody was told to pit. So
The interesting thing about this as well is that obviously you share a pit box with another driver. So if you don't qualify as well, you're put in a position where you're more likely to be held up by being double stacked with someone.
but it essentially depends on how well your race start goes, because everyone will start on softs to get the best race.
Everyone's still starting on softs, or alternatively, if it's wet, they'll start on a wet tire compound.
Yeah.
But you have to pit to essentially clear the one hit stop rule
Can we
that's in
quickly just
place.
chat about one more incident that happened?
Yes, let's do that.
Because obviously I haven't got any visual aids up for you guys, but I would assume for anybody who watched Papa Champs, you would have seen the incidents as well as they happened. Lap 1, turn 1. Now, I had very, very precise words to say about this incident. I'm going to pull them up actually because I think, from my point of view, and I'm not saying that I'm a pro at this, I'm definitely fucking not. But I made my point very fucking clear in what I said, and I stated as simple as right the lap 1 turn 1 incident. For the incident on lap 1 with TJ and Adam, I don't want to penalise a lap 1 turn 1 incident where both drivers actually outbroke themselves, placing them in a vulnerable position. Right? And when you look at that, I'm sorry, but both drivers were already in a vulnerable position, right? I've seen TJ race, okay? He's fantastic. He's very quick. He was on the inside of he was already on the back foot because of how far back he was. He tried to make up a few positions, he locked up, and he ended up outbraking himself. But because of the line at which he had to the corner, if you class this as the corner here, his line through the corner was essentially, hold on, if I can do this correctly. So this is the corner here. Italian, Angelo moment. He was coming into the corner, and he was already that tight, so he had to do that, and he was too fast, so he went like that. Whereas you had Adam on the on the further side of the pit of TJ, which was here, and had to then cross in front of him, and their lines collided because they put themselves in vulnerable positions. So therefore, it's a lap 1 turn 1 incident, and it is NFA. So there's nothing you can really do. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, fuck it. Some drivers got damaged from that, right? But next time, it's a simple thing as don't try and be greedy on turn 1, lap 1. You do not win the race turn 1, lap 1, no matter what race it is. You could be on fucking Extreme E, right? Extreme E, you're driving in the middle of a desert or on bloody polar ice caps. What's the difference? Turn 1, lap 1, you're not going to win it. You know, you may have a good chance because you're racing against 4 or 5 hour cars, but what's the difference? You know, because you could easily make another mistake and they could come down the inside of you. It's the same in Formula E. It's the same in any other race in GT3. You make your line tighter. You have a slower entry speed and a slower exit speed. If you come from wider out like the esports guys do and tuck in, you can carry more entrance speed and subsequently carry more exit speed. So by making that line tighter, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping any driver behind, like next to you. Just race smarter, okay? And personally, that's my view on it. What do you guys think of that incident?
I've got to agree with what you said myself.
I think honestly everyone involved in that incident needs to just do better because simulation damage, you're going to get your car fucked essentially if you hit people. So just don't hit people. But
Well, to be honest,
some
simulation
people
damage can
seem
also
to
affect
not.
your curbs as well.
Yeah, and for that corner as well, you can't ground. You don't want to ground out, and you make your line even worse if you're on the inside of a corner that's a sharp right into a left-hander. You cannot do anything about that. It's essentially a mini hairpin turn 1 at Bahrain, and when you do that to yourself, instead of it sort of a clean sort of 90-degree turn, you make it a nearly 180-degree turn because you're on the inside and cars are going to be on your outside. So the incident with Adam and TJ, and if any of them want to argue that they should be penalised or shouldn't be penalised or something like that, they just need to understand the simple rule of you made that worse for yourself. Just accept it and don't do it again. It's about racing smarter, not harder. So I don't know. Maybe they do need to watch some of ERC driving, because ERC, we watched the Bahrain GP at with many times together, Mike, with ERC, and
Yeah.
there's always a little bit of calamities at turn 1, and it's always because somebody's already really tight into the right hand side on the turn 1 lap 1. And it's always the same sort of situation. And drivers learn from that and they don't do it next time. You can make your move, but you can't be making your move that like that on 5 other cars in the turn 1. It's just not going to happen.
Exactly. No.
You've just got to be more careful. I don't know TJ and Adam's situation. I don't know if they're running no ABS and no TC in some ways, but there's a level of, a degree of difficulty in every corner, and they sort of sent it at the wrong time, so not sure really. We've got one little segment to go. We're going to have a look at some Twitter comments, some stuff that's been going on Twitter. We're just going to basically go through my Twitter feed and find some of the bits and pieces that are going on. Welcome to Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. This is the little segment we're going to bring back for this week because there's not really too much racing going on. I just need to get the window capture up working because, well, here's the thing. It's a bit shit sometimes. So, hopefully, it's not working. That makes me feel great about my life, guys. When Streamlabs decides nah. Streamlabs has decided nah.
Just no.
Just do it. Come on. There's no reason for you not to be able to do it. Come on. If I click on it, does this work? Pit lanes is hilarious for some of this stuff. Yeah, the winner of the golf fan livery is here, Boulder Van Bold. To be honest, that is cool looking, that livery. Now, we had some images of the Lamborghini LMDH appear on Twitter today. Over the past sort of few days, there's been loads of little things being thrown up as to what's going on. Let's have a look at this, guys, because I don't know if you guys can see what I'm seeing. You just can't. What is going on with window capture? Why is it... Just give me it, please. Please. I'm begging. Begging you.
Is it on pause?
No, it's just not working. I'm gonna... Right, so that's the media capture for that. So why is it not letting me do this? There we go. It's appeared now after I did that. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing. These are some images of the LMDH Lambo that has been brought out. You can actually see the WeatherTech stickers on the side of the car. And this is the left side. So it's got quite a sort of rigid side to it at the moment. The back end looks like a Lamborghini with the Lamborghini lighting. It looks really cool actually if you look. So that's like the rear side pods for the wheels, and it looks like it's got a strut bar almost connected to that. And then the back end here as well. It's quite interesting. And obviously the cockpit looks yellow. Don't know if that's maybe just the picture that they've taken. Guys, I would definitely recommend this guy on Twitter. He's just an endurance racing pleb, to be honest, just like me.
What's his name, mate?
It's CRV5 or Cliff02, we're going to call him. He's great crack. He basically is good at kind of picking things up here. Also, we did actually have an IMSA race this weekend, but I didn't watch it. It was at Mosport. But there you go, the GTP was Durrani and Sims, the number 31 car, that has been, making points up here. BMW are just behind, and Acura are behind that as well, but there is some pictures being shown around as, Tom Blomqvist will make his NTT IndyCar Series debut this weekend at Toronto, so that's interesting. That'll be good to see. Do any of you guys know who Tom Blomqvist is?
Yes.
Absolutely, I love the guy.
Yes. one of the best British drivers to be in sports car racing at the moment. And if it wasn't for him, Meyershank Racing wouldn't have done so well at Daytona. So, some more news as well. We'll talk about Daniel Ricciardo is
Oh yeah.
racing again, which is nice to see.
Alpha Tauri.
Yeah, replacing Nick de Vries. What's everybody's opinions on that? Nick de Vries being kicked so early.
This is a
AlphaTauri.
thing. The thing is, it's almost pretty much a Red Bull customer team.
Yeah, like we knew that, but what's the overall view though from you guys? Do you think they should be doing it? But
To be honest, that is one of the most cutthroat young driver programs to actually end up in. If you don't perform like early on, you just get given the heat.
exactly.
I think the guy's career is up now.
Yeah. I don't think it's fucked. I mean, look at the guy. He's a 2 times Formula E world champion, and he's been mildly successful in endurance racing. He'll get a seat. He'll get a seat everywhere else, just not in Formula 1 at the moment. It's how it goes with Red Bull. If you're part of a Red Bull team, they will just fuck you over. Oh my god.
Cutthroat.
This weekend marked my 100th IMSA start in 2014. Look, that's the old Corvette DPI.
There's the number 10 under the bridge one last time.
Probably one of the
Swinging
coolest
down
looking
to start finish.
DPIs.
Jordan Taylor and Wayne Taylor Racing.
Okay, I don't care about your music. But yeah, that's interesting as well. Yeah, that's the first glimpse yesterday. This
Can I
guy
just
even
make
filmed
another
stuff.
point about Red Bull?
Yeah, go for it.
Their driver academy is by far the best of any team on the grid or any other.
By far.
By far. So like at least a third of the grid is either employed by Red Bull or has been through Red Bull's academy.
Yeah.
They have six academy drivers in Formula 2, another lot of drivers in Formula 3, and even below Formula 3, they've got tons of drivers.
Signed under
But the
them.
fact is,
Yeah.
if you don't perform, you get done.
Exactly.
What Red Bull have done in the past, and they continue to do this, is that they make sure drivers get second chances. They make sure that the driver is looked after and prepared for, in most cases.
Certified.
Ricardo
Marco
is
Tiano.
back on the grid because Red Bull brought him back. Red Bull gave him a second chance. Red Bull took him up at the AlphaTauri seat. The Albon situation took him back for a year, let him do some testing, and then got him a seat at Williams. And he's been on the grid since, and he's been performing just fine.
Exactly. And I think it's about the experience that you get from being in an F1 car for the first time. It's hard. It's the same with Mick. The situation with Mick, he had 2 seasons to really work magic in a car that was essentially shit. And, you know, it's just a money situation for Haas. And that's why Mercedes took him on. Because they know he's a good driver. I think he's a good driver, personally. But just people want to slag him off, I think he is. Bit of news for everybody. Audi Sport will no longer sell GT2, GT3 and GT4 spec R8 LMSs after March 2024 due to the end of production of the R8 road car and the start of their F1 program. Factory supported efforts are set to cease and 14 works drivers will have to leave the manufacturer. The good news is that customers in GT2, GT3 and GT4 series can expect support from Audi Sport for the foreseeable future, and the R8 GT cars are set to go through another homologation cycle, making them eligible in top-level racing for another 8 years from 2024. So, I mean, I don't think there will be them racing for another 6 years. I don't think Audi will be null and void unless they decide to make another GT car, maybe out the RS7 or something. I don't think, you know, the R8. It's been such a workhorse for them, for GT over the past 10 years, and yeah, it's a shame to see them go. But you know, we've got a picture of the R8 GT3, and then this is the GT2 variant that they made for the GT2 spec races of SRO. It looks like a fucking weapon. but it's awesome, to be honest. They are really good looking cars. But yeah, some really interesting stuff coming out of this guy. He's really good. This is some of the stuff from WEC actually.
And very slow out of the parabolica, and Brendan Hartley goes by. Here comes the Ferrari, Antonio Giovinazzi.
Oh dear.
We know he doesn't like to give up. Drove with 3 brakes in Portimao. He's trying to get around the outside. Nose, makes the corner. That's big, big bravery.
Well, it's not over yet because Brendan's going to have a go, but he's going to have enough room around the outside here in Curva Grande. So he should get the job done finally. He's now got the higher ground on the inside of this corner coming up. I think Giovinazzi is going to try on the braking zone to go around the outside. No, he doesn't. Brendan's finally got it done. It took that many corners to make it through, but that was all because of the traffic. I said that he needed a bit of luck in traffic, and that was it.
Here comes Hartley.
What a fantastic race, because it ended up being the lead in many ways for a little while, but it ended up being P4 and stuff in the last 15 minutes, supposedly. Audi is literally leaving every other sport behind, though, by just choosing to be part of F1. What do you guys feel about that?
Must
Are they
be a
gonna?
lot.
Do you think that they're gonna have a lot of success in F1? Do you think? It's gonna take a few years, I think. At least that's what I think.
Not really. I don't.
The thing is, how much success do they have in like endurance racing and sort of that sort of thing? They've got more pedigree in that than they probably do that and they do in F1. Anyway, this is my thought.
This is funny. This is him. Somebody trying to fucking comment on him. They literally would be killing their heritage. He's right. And then this guy goes, "I'm in tears, man. WEC fans crying that Audi are leaving their dusted sport is the funniest thing ever." You're kidding me. This guy, let me guess, this guy's an F1 fan. F1 expert. There you go. That's in his name. What a fucking...
Everyone claims to be an expert.
Yeah, what a cunt,
Yeah.
right? You guys, we all like F1 as it is, right? We like F1, okay? But the waves that Audi have shown in such a sport like endurance racing and GT racing over the past, well, how do I describe it? The past 15 to 20 years has been phenomenal. Numerous class wins in endurance racing, including the top class of LMP 900 into LMP 1, and then all the way through into what we consider now the GT era, you know, of the Audi R8. When that thing hit the fucking streets for the first time, yes, it had teething problems where the engine liked to just spontaneously combust, but it, just like a Ferrari, it was fast when it was working. And the teething problems fixed itself over the years, with actually 3 iterations of the latest Audi R8 being in GT racing. We're on the Evo 2 variation now of the Audi R8. You know, it's had a long life in GT racing, and we saw many iterations of the Audi Sport team making LMP1s, all the way up to the R18 tractor, as we call it, because it was just a machine. Probably one of the coolest LMP1s to ever hit the grid for a long time. So, you know, the R8, the R10, the R12, R14, R16 into the R18. Beautiful cars. And it's a history, and it's a legacy, right?
Mm.
I'm not the only one that thinks that. I know some of you guys are not as well versed in endurance racing as I am, but like, that's my childhood right there. Is Audi being the pinnacle of endurance racing and GTs, all the way through from learning about cars when I was younger, playing Forza Motorsport 3 and Project Gotham Racing 4 and stuff, you know, on the Xbox 360 with my dad, even playing Need for Speed Pro Street and stuff like that, learning about cars, watching racing. And Audi were a manufacturer that made cars that made me in awe of myself. I loved them. And when they announced F1, I was interested. It piqued my interest, but I knew that was going to be the end. in some ways for a heritage of cars that really are necessarily my childhood. And when they said they weren't going to make an LMDH or an LMH, I cried a little bit because I wanted to see them back in endurance racing. I don't know why they decided to step away from endurance racing. I don't know if it's because they maybe felt that it was too expensive for them, but F1's more expensive than everything, and I don't see it. I don't see it. But we move on from that. Guys, this has been actually a really good podcast. We've chatted about a lot of things going on in the racing world as usual. We're gonna finish this off here as Mike messages me, asking to be excused. But we're gonna end this here, guys. Thank you very much for watching this episode of International Paddock. We're gonna be back with you again on Monday with the usual time, 5 p.m. on this Twitch channel. If you are not following this channel, you need to, because you will get
We
notified.
will be on air if Andrew's not working.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be here. We will be here. So just enjoy everything that we have to talk about. Racing is coming to a little bit of a dire moment at the moment, with less races at the moment during the summer, but we'll still find a way to keep you occupied. That's how we do it here on the International Paddock podcast. If you've enjoyed any of this content, you'll like all the other content that we do over on the YouTube channel. We've got our previous live streams live on there at the moment. The link for that is on our Twitch page. You'll be able to access that. And to finish it off, we will be live again with Papa Champs on 8:30 every Monday night from this Twitch channel as well. So stay
Papa
together for
Champs.
that. It's going to be good fun. And
Papa Champs.
we are at Baku for the first gimmick race. If you haven't tuned in for some of the podcasts,
Papa
we talked about that.
Champs.
Papa Champs, and it's going to be
Papa
good fun.
Champs.
It's going to be good fun. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will catch you again on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.
No, God bless. Don't be a vamp. Watch for Papa Champs.